Motes! Joy Chu! That's me speaking Klingon, which Cortana can't do on my Windows phone yet, but she's already doing it on some of them, and we're going to talk about that for about 5 seconds before hitting Windows 10, Android L, Nexus 6, and hashtag Gapgate. All that, plus your listener mail and a brand new segment on episode 116 of the Pocketnow Weekly, the once-a-week podcast where we discuss news and opinion from the world of mobile technology, from smartphones to tablets to wearables, all that stuff you wished you had when you were a kid. From Boston, Massachusetts, where the chill is bitter, and so are the accents. I'm Michael Fisher, joined by Chief News Editor Stephen Schenck, who's mad as hell, but probably will still take it a bit longer. Welcome from New Jersey, sir.
I'm mad as hell, but I'm very amenable to hearing other opinions and tempering my fury. So we'll see how things go.
Always glad to hear. Thank you. And Taylor Martin is supposed to be out fixing his motorcycle or whatever they do in Super Carolina, but he has actually joined us. Even though Jaime Rivera is supposed to be pitch hitting for him, he is pitch hitting for Jaime Rivera. I don't know if that word is pinch or pitch because I don't do sports still. Hey, Taylor, welcome back to the show. Taylor's not in the show yet, okay.
You can't see this if you're listening to the podcast, but we have Taylor's popping up multiple instances in Hangouts because it's wonderful, non-glitchy like that. And one of them is frozen in this beautiful look on Taylor's face. It's
There's two Taylors down in the ribbon, and one of them is very confused and frozen.
You're in the headlights, yeah.
Oh, what a shame. Well, listen, I want to encourage Taylor to start his audio recorder and make damn sure that he does something so we can hear him. And in the meantime, I'm going to tell you guys something about this. If you're using an Android device, which is likely, given its enormous market share these days, you've probably felt bored of your home screen. We all have, right? Your device comes with a limited number of wallpapers, and no matter how much you arrange your icons, things always kind of look the same. A third-party launcher can fix these woes, but with so many available, how do you know which one to check out? Aviate to Nova and beyond? Well, we recommend you try Themer. The free launcher lets you pick from over 500 home screen themes, all complete with wallpaper, icons, and widgets that configure themselves in one tap. Whether you like the ultra minimal with only the bare essentials, or if you want to be productive by having a calendar on your home screen with access to music controls, a live newsreader, and more, whatever you want to do, Themer has a theme you'll love. Give it a try. Just search the Play Store for Themer. Thanks. Let's see, come back to the show here and see if Taylor Martin has managed to make himself heard. Has he?
Hello.
Oh, we can hear your delightful voice. Isn't that wonderful?
I'm glad we can hear and see you, but you killed off Stunned Taylor, and he was I like that guy.
Sorry.
I liked him a lot, too.
Totally sorry.
Taylor is here. There's such confusion putting this show together. Taylor was scheduled yesterday, and we had to take him off the rundown. And then we suddenly had to put him back because Jaime Rivera's country is powered by hydroelectric power, and they're in something like the year 20 of a drought. So I think Jaime either doesn't have power or internet. Yeah, I don't know what the story is. But
I can't stay forever. I do have to go pick up a motorcycle and get it inspected and whatnot.
Did you say you can't stay forever?
I can't.
Yeah, all right. That's what I appreciate you stopping by anyway. We are going to kick off the show with announcements. We have a new commitment to 90 minutes on the Pocketnow Weekly. We're going to see if we can stick to that today. That's hilarious. Now to you doubting Thomas. And we're going to see if we can stick to it. We're going to do our best. And first, we have some announcements. And normally, I like to kick off the show with, like, uplifting announcements. But part of the reason Taylor is here is to share some very sad news on a very special episode of the Pocketnow Weekly. Taylor.
Oh, God. That's so sad.
I know. The webOS announcement ding is always a little sad, but this is even sadder. Taylor, I understand from my readings on Twitter.com that the winds of change, they are a-blowing in the Carolinas.
They are.
Tell us about that.
They are. I gave my notice. I will be leaving Pocketnow. October 31st will be my last official day of work for Pocketnow. So.
Womp, 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 womp. That was sad for me to read.
Yeah, no. As you know, Michael, it's been something I've been battling for a long time, just trying to figure out what to do and where to go, what to, I don't know, do with my life. I still love technology, but I don't know. I just want to change. I need to change.
Full-time motorcycle racer?
Yes. I'm racing Actually, not motorcycles, lawnmowers. I moved back here to become a professional lawnmower racer.
Professional lawnmower racer, Taylor Martin. Oh my God! Can you, if you did that even once in your life, I would pay any amount to come here to come see that.
Well, I'll put some thought into it. I might do that. I might take it up on the weekend.
I hope so.
It's a thing around here. That's a legit thing.
You're joking. Hold up. Wait. No. Hold up. Are you serious? People get together and they race lawnmowers?
You didn't know that? Hold on.
You're gonna look it up. No, I did not know that one bit, and I am really excited now because does that mean you could get in? Do you have to have your own John Deere ride-on?
You have to get into like the farm leagues first.
We're talking his way up.
Yeah. Do you have to show your like FFA certificate or what?
Yes, Future Farmers of America. Yeah, I was captain of that. I don't know what they called their leader, president.
I didn't know what Future Farmers of America was until I saw Napoleon Dynamite. So wait, what are you looking up in the lawnmower racing?
I had an FFA jacket in high school when I wore it. Wow. Yeah. Oh yeah. Lawnmower racing. There's a Wikipedia page for it.
All right. Before we lose everybody, I want to.
250cc class.
I just want to make it clear, Taylor, that if you and I can make this happen together, I will come down there and I will lawnmower race with you. All right. We're not going to be coworkers anymore. We'll just be buds, so we don't have to talk about all the shit that you're burned out on.
The kid gloves are off too.
Can we shake and bake? Shake and bake?
We can shake and bake. Yeah, if you take me to a rallies while I'm down there, then you can come up here, and I'll take you to Samuel Adams, and we'll have a lovely time. And maybe the Polar Seltzer Factory if you're good.
Well, they have a 15-mile, 60-lap course where they race lawnmowers around 30 miles per hour.
Hot damn. 30 miles an hour.
That is not a vehicle I would want to go 30 miles an hour on.
Whatever, man. I'd do it. I'd do it in a hot second. Definitely going to miss your in-depth and thought-out editorials, Taylor, says Quadwo Boadu. I completely agree with him. I want to say that one of the saddest parts about this industry is that when Taylor told me the news, which was what, last night, Taylor?
Yeah.
I did not even have the time to react. I didn't have the time to react until like 10 a.m. this morning because I was too busy doing the job that Taylor's tired of doing. You know what I mean? Like it was.
Yeah, I told you, and you're like, "Hey!" exclamation point. What's up? I'm just like, I don't know if
acknowledgement.
I wasn't able to react honestly because I was too busy. I was editing a video, and then you told me, I was like, that really sucks. If I take any amount of time to think about what that means right now, I'm going to not be able to do my job tonight. So that really sucks. I need to do my job. And then at like 2 in the morning, I finally had a minute, and I was like, wow, that really blows. Best get to sleep.
You were listening to the radio, Boys to Men, End of the Road came on. I guess it all crashed down at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, who was it? Clifton, I think, sent, what is it? From Whitesnake, Here I Go Again.
Here I go again on my own.
That's my anthem.
Going down the only road I've ever known.
Yeah.
We will all miss you very much. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah, I'll miss it. I will. I've always known that if I ever left, I would miss it. It's just, I want to do something different. Like that's just it. I want to write about something other than phones and tablets because.
But you're still looking and sticking in writing in some regard.
To some degree, yes. Yeah. Because I enjoy that more than anything in the world is writing. That's what I do. But as far as how long it'll be before I do that again, I don't know. I know that. Once my time ends here, I am probably going to sleep for about 3 days straight. I will not get out of my bed, and then I might start making my way to the bathroom or to the kitchen to get some food or something.
I have a question, Taylor. It's become very in vogue in the past couple of years in the tech blogging world to pen a farewell post on your last day in office. Do you intend to do such a thing?
Yeah, if Pocketnow allows it, yes, absolutely.
I mean, I would allow it. I guess technically that's editorial, but I could be overruled if you piss off Tony between now and then. So don't piss off Tony.
I don't intend to piss off anyone. I mean, I want to leave on a very high note. I mean, I have friends here. You guys are my friends, and I've enjoyed working with you all. The phones have done me in.
It'll do it.
You haven't changed.
I've been doing it for 5 years, and to date, I don't have an actual number, but I've probably reviewed around 100 phones.
Lord.
Phones and tablets. So it's a lot. It is a lot. And editorials, before I joined Pocketnow, I'd already written over 3,300 editorials.
Wow.
It's a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it wore on me, and I still love it. It's just I need a break, and I want to shift gears. I want to write about different things.
Like lawnmower races.
Like lawnmower racing.
Yeah.
No, it's really cool. I'm glad, man. I know this has been coming for a little while. I know you've been really tired and stuff like that, and we're gonna miss you around here, but we'll have plenty of time to talk about that. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew. Now we're still gonna have you for what? For a month?
Yes. Last day is October 31st. And if I do a video on that day, if I do a farewell video or whatever, it's probably going to be me in some sort of costume.
It better be. If it's not, I'm not going to publish it.
I may or may not wear a shirt.
All right. I mean,
what kind of costume are you envisioning here?
I don't know yet.
Make sure you warn us in the headline. I don't know. People are going to be throwing themselves to their computers and such.
NSFW.
Kelvin Alonso
says,
I was actually thought Taylor leaving might happen one day, to be honest with you. Best of luck to you, dude, in anything you plan on doing. Amen.
Thank you. I've been getting so many positive tweets and messages and everything, and it's amazing. I just want to thank everyone.
No problem. When are you going to send me your standing desk?
I'll ship it to you piece by piece over the course of 2 months.
Okay, grand. Make sure there's a snarky note attached to each shipment, please. And,
yeah. I'm not as good at those as you are.
Hey, do you want to stick around for? Do you want to rap about phones for like 20 minutes?
I can do a few minutes, but I do need to go because all these places are going to close, and that's the whole reason I wasn't working today.
All right. Well, stick around. We're still inside the announcement block right now. And I just want to tell everyone that your iOS 8 review just went up, Taylor Martin. It is a very well-structured review with some compelling assertions. The only thing wrong with it is that it's been published on October 3rd. But it's a fantastic review.
And I tell you, I worked on that all day yesterday until about 1:30 in the morning, woke up and worked on it some more, and then let you handle some stuff and then published it. So a lot of sweat, blood, and tears went into this.
Labor of love.
It's just outstanding. So please go check that out, everyone, if you have not already. Also, our iPhone 6 review is up. I did that one. Our iPhone 6 Plus review, also done by Taylor, is also live. If you want iOS news, this is still a very good time to go grab it. The Galaxy Alpha review lands today. I have it in my pocket. I have it here. If you want to ask me a question or two about the Galaxy Alpha, we're not doing gadgets in hand, but I'll happily answer one or two in the Q&A if you're watching the show live. And finally, the Xperia Z3 is also in the house. Tony unboxed it. He's done a couple comparisons, and the Z3 Compact is not far behind. Taylor, that's going to be one of your last devices that you review for us, isn't it?
That's a good high note to go out on, though.
I know, right? It's not bad. I'm hoping that maybe we get our hands on a Note Edge. I feel like Taylor going out on the Note Edge would be somehow poetic. I don't know why.
I will use the Edge to end my days, is what I'll do. No, that phone doesn't seem so bad. But yeah, it was really dark, wasn't it?
It sure was, brother.
No, iPads might be released before then, too, so I don't know.
Maybe so.
Maybe I'll pick up an iPad, but, well,
knock on.
Usually don't they do the announcement and then release them? No, iPads, aren't they the same day?
iPads are.
Hey,
I don't. You know what? I know someone we can ask on that. We can ask an Apple expert. What about our very own Jaime Rivera? Welcome to the show, sir.
Oh, happy day! This is lovely.
Well, we spent the first part of the show describing your internet and hydroelectric problems, and it seems like they are taking their toll already, Robot Jaime.
So the power's back, but my internet is down, so I'm on a hotspot.
Now, Jaime, I must ask you, are you recording yourself so that we can...
Anyways, you were talking on... Of course I am. Of course I am.
Jaime... Oh, okay. Grand. Jules, you're going to love editing this time-traveling shit together. Let's see if this gets better. Jaime, we just now announced all of the stuff that's up at Pocketnow. Taylor just announced his impending departure, and we were just about to get into the news. So you missed all of the emotional stuff. We shed some tears. Steven just picked himself up off the floor. He was sobbing openly a second ago.
I could see him. I still notice him sad. It's so bad.
Yeah.
Jaime, you're just upset because I haven't bought you a beer since CES.
I'm just upset because you can't sell me your Moto 360. You can fix. You can't. You need to. Come on, man. Come on, be a nice guy. I went to like 3 or 4 Best Buys trying to buy.
Oh, poor Jaime was just hunting all over the United States for a Moto 360 when he spoke to me a couple days ago while he was here, and
last week, and I couldn't.
Just didn't work out for him. I even looked here. I was in Cambridge. I was like, I gotta find you a 360. I'll buy one and send it to you.
In stores?
It's just sold out everywhere. Is the problem?
Really?
Moto has a big hit on their hands with this sucker, and since they updated
or they made like 7.
Well, yeah. But since they updated it, they have the battery life has improved quite a bit. It's not in the rundown.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a thing. You know, if we're going to get into news, then we're going to just get into news. Let's jump into it. Jules, sound the news announcement. Stephen, why don't you and I alternate headlines, and we'll go from there. And Jaime, we will try as hard as we can to keep up with your time traveling.
Sounds good, dude.
Stephen, why don't you kick us off, brother?
All right. Whew, hard on me. Let's see. Got big-ish news this week. At least the one big event we had scheduled for this week was Microsoft teased a couple weeks back about having this Windows event, not necessarily Windows Phone, but word was it was going to be the release of a technical preview for Windows 9. And kind of what we got, except not so much in the Windows 9 department. Windows 9, never going to happen. Microsoft is jumping over 9 altogether and is getting ready to move forward to Windows 10 for next year. So at this event, the company talked a little bit about its vision for the platform. It didn't really spend a lot of time talking about, we've been hearing for a while now rumors about Windows Phone dropping the phone, just being Windows now. And it didn't make a big deal about it, but that is what's going to happen. Windows 10 is going to be the next platform for desktop, for tablets, and for phones. So no Windows Phone 9, no Windows 9, just Windows 10 on your phone as well as your PC.
Did you hear why?
I tuned into the video and I expected to see some mobile stuff that we could talk about, but then that didn't. Yeah, there was almost none. It was all desktop kind of stuff. Taylor, what were you saying?
Did you hear why they skipped Windows 9?
Well, we heard a couple of explanations for that, but what's the most credible one?
The one I saw on Twitter, I don't know how credible it is, but it was due to confusion over all the Windows 9 versions. So Windows 95, 97, and all of those older...
There's no 97.
Or Windows... There were 95, Windows 95,
and 98.
98, yeah, not 97, 98.
We are confused.
But it was...
So people were going to be confused that Microsoft's new OS was actually 15 years old? What?
No, it was some sort of code thing, like for version checks, like Windows, for support for older apps and stuff. Like I don't remember I couldn't read the code. I just saw that there was confusion with Windows 9 and Windows 95 and 98 and all that. So they just skipped to Windows 10. I don't know how.
I find that slightly more hard to believe in these rumors that Apple is going to never release iOS 10 because it doesn't want to get confusion between OS X and iOS 10, and it's going to be like 8 point something for the next few years now. That's crazy, but this is a little more crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was funny. The thing was more funny. I slaughtered the delivery, but
someone was live tweeting the I hate that. Someone was. It's that damn Samsung notification sound that's on the Galaxy Alpha. Someone was live tweeting the Microsoft announcement, and they were really being too quick on the gun, or I can't do similes today. And basically they were saying the new Windows announcement is, and they had it like pre-populated, Windows 1. And I was like, oh, that actually sounds like pretty cool. I'm down with that. And apparently, I guess the slide that was on screen at the event was like scrolling sideways, so it was going to be Windows 10, but he kind of just saw Windows 1 before the 0 appeared and tweeted it. And so when I heard Windows 10, I got very confused and sort of let down. I think Windows 10 is a sort of uninspired name, but I guess whatever you want to do.
I wasn't even following the explanation for a moment there because I'm picturing the word 1 spelled out, and I'm thinking, how does this? Do you see the middle?
Yeah, no, like Windows
NE,
the sequel, the much-awaited sequel to ME.
That wasn't as bad as, what was it, CBS or one of these big companies, a news publication that announced Microsoft had just they tweeted that Microsoft had just announced iOS something. iOS 10 or something. Yeah.
Whoops.
Yep.
Okay, so we're not going to get much out of this on the mobile front until what, Build or something like that in April?
Right. So Microsoft released its technical preview for the desktop, and it has a built-in expiration date, and that's going to run out in April when we're going to have the Build conference. Microsoft confirmed that much. They're going to have a lot more news there, including a bigger focus on the mobile side. It also confirmed, we've heard that the ARM version of Windows 10, so the one that's going to be for phones and tablets, the technical preview will be coming out, in advance of a formal release, but that won't be around until sometime next year. So we won't even get to see developers getting their hands on this until at least 3 or 4 months from now. But probably Build seems like the most sensible time to release that, so could be half a year.
Yeah, so actually I've looked around. That seems to be what everyone is reporting, though, that compatibility thing.
Okay, I see. Code.
In the chat,
yeah.
yeah. If Windows starts with, or if version starts with Windows 9, excluding 95 and 98, else this. So it's like just confusion on the code side. I can't hear Michael.
I can't hear Michael either.
He doesn't say that much important stuff to begin with. We're fine.
We've been doing some very interesting time travel today because I can't hear Michael either.
I'm sorry. You know what, guys? That was my fault. I'm sorry, guys. I had my mute switch on. I muted myself. Well, the reason I muted myself is because I've got a construction going on very nearby, and I'm sorry. So what I was saying, guys, is that we're going to hear about this later. Whatever. I don't want to talk about Windows 10 too much. It's kind of an uninspired name. Okay, whatever. But really, what I was interested in is the fact that. Remember back in the day when people were making mashups of what Windows should look like because everyone was pissed off at the way Windows 8 actually looked, and it was like a split personality thing, and people were putting the tiles in the start screen and saying, hey, look at this. It's like Microsoft took one of those renders and made it real. Like it's I don't know how to think about it. I liked it yesterday, and I watched most of the video today, and I don't really like it very much. I don't know.
Yeah, someone was saying that Microsoft announced the whole duality thing was gone, where you switch between your modern UI and your old desktop modes, that duality between them. And what they've done is made resizable modern UI windows. So you can have your modern UI apps in Windows instead of all of them being full screen or split screen.
So wait a second. One question, Michael. You don't like the new design of Windows 10 then?
It's not. I haven't seen enough of it to know if I like the design of the whole platform or not. But the start screen, the tiles showing up alongside the old interface elements in the start screen, I'm at least confused by it. I don't know if I actively dislike it yet.
I just don't
actually
like
it.
I don't like the tiles to begin with, and there was a question and answer after the announcement, and someone posed this to I think Joe Belfiore talking about have you gotten pushback against these tiles, and he's like, oh no, everyone. They like the tiles. They're just confused about them. That's not true. I don't like the tiles. I think they're dumb, and I just want a clean, old-school start menu. I have Windows 7 and all these hacks to make it look like an even older version of Windows Start menu. I'm probably an old fuddy-duddy. I'm willing to admit that, but some
Steven's
people
not going to be happy with
the
DOS loading animation, or the DOS loading lines.
Why can't it all just be text commands?
No, and Steven, you're not alone. I mean, out of 10 people that I've shown a Windows phone, my God, probably only 5 or 4 like it. I mean, at some point, my father needed a phone. I wanted to lend him my Dell Venue Pro, and he could not understand the phone. I gave him an iPhone 3GS and got it in 2 minutes.
Ooh. This is funny. Jaime can't understand why his comment threads are always on fire. What do you mean, Jaime? Hold on a second. Windows Phone is a completely different thing. When I show people Windows Phone, they're actually almost always impressed and envious.
Okay. So here's the thing. They are impressed at the visual aspects of the OS, but then when they try to interact with it, they don't understand it. What I'm saying is they don't understand the concept.
Yeah, because it is the one that is the most different right now from anything else.
Exactly.
So you have to live with that penalty of being the different OS. Yeah.
Right. So here's the thing. I guess that's really the reason. Like the effect that Steven has, the effect that I've had. I like the live tiles as opposed to Steven. The problem is the average person doesn't really get the UI, and that's really what made Windows 8 so complicated for people. That transition is really something that complicated things for people, I guess. is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do on the tablet because they're eliminating duality, but on a tablet you don't want any of these desktop elements necessarily when you're using it in tablet mode. So
but the point.
Well, if you ask
everyone but one person.
If you ask Adam Lane, he'll tell you he'd like.
Well, yeah.
Yes. The point I wanted to make with the duality thing is that they've now made modern UI apps in Windows, but now you also have two completely different settings menus. A modern UI settings menu and a desktop settings menu, like control panel.
Oh.
You have two separate control panels. One's modern, one is not.
But for all these legitimate criticisms, I feel like the initial response to this has been significantly better. Yeah, it's been quite a positive reception so far. I mean, to the previews that we've seen, we don't know what's going to happen when the OS gets to people's hands, but I think this is already they're already ahead of where Windows 8 was on the PR blitz at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm not dogging the whole update. I'm just saying that Microsoft is like, hey, we're going to end this duality thing because we don't want it. But here are two separate control panels for two opposite ends of your operating system.
Right, which is rough.
That's just like facepalm.
But at the same time, that's fine because this is the company that has made it possible for your virtual assistant on your smartphone to speak to you in Klingon.
You're moving us forward, Michael.
I am moving us forward, and Stephen hit me with this. Yeah. Hold on, Jaime. Stephen hit me with this news a second ago on the instant message action. Jules wasn't ready for this. I'm sorry, Jules. I made your animation screw up, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" He sends me this headline from, I guess it was The Verge, and I was like, "Wait, what? I'm building the podcast rundown. I don't have time for this." But then I click on the thing, and I'm like, "Oh dear God." It seems that Microsoft has enabled some features in Cortana that enable her to address you in the Klingon language from Star Trek, the best television series and movie franchise of all time. And my Windows Phone is updating its software right now, so I can't try it on the air. My HTC Windows Phone M8 couldn't do it when I tried it before, which was very irritating to me. But hopefully my Lumia 1020, when it's done updating, will allow us to try it on the air. Jaime, what were you going to say?
So are you such a Trekkie that you do understand Klingon is the question?
I understand some Klingon. I kicked off the podcast today with the Klingon for Malt's Activate Beam, which was totally out of context, but it's one of the it's a famous line. Now, I know some Klingon. I know how to say we as condemning food, things, and supplies and such.
I had to pull up a list of common Klingon phrases. I must have scrolled through 200 of them before I found one even remotely useful for including in one of my social promo posts for that thing. There's a lot of stuff that Klingons say. Very little of it is applicable to smartphones. So
my favorite is the translation for to be or not to be, which is tach ba tach be, which is just great. I mean, how do you beat that? That's great. That's wonderful.
I couldn't tell you.
Lord,
I think that's my
that requires a GIF. That required a GIF, like really.
You can use the new PopKey keyboard for iOS to send it to somebody.
And assuming that keyboard pops up on cue when you want it to, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
With that keyboard, have either of you used that, or any of you?
No, but I don't want to talk about iOS.
It's a GIF keyboard. It's a GIF keyboard.
Is that like a GIF keyboard?
Yes, but it's actually GIF. So it's a GIF keyboard.
So is it GIF or is it GIF? What's the
we're not doing this. We're not doing this. We've done this. The internet has done this a million times. We're not doing this. We're not doing this.
Welcome to the Pocketnow Weekly, everyone.
Yeah, Taylor, are you trying to get out of here, or were you just mad at me talking Klingon? Because I'm done talking Klingon now.
Both. I've got to get going before these places close. It's almost 3. Well, it's 2:30.
All right, tell us. All right. Well, listen. We all wish you luck in your motorcycle maintenance mission. Please be safe with it, and we want to see you on another weekly before the window of Taylor Martin closes.
Yeah. Slow down before them curbs.
Yeah. Don't text while driving, and don't.
But I got the 360. I can just talk to
lewd act.
Yeah, one-handed. That's a good way to ride.
Of course.
Steven, you and I just crossed joke streams. That was
Thank you for making me feel so bad, Taylor. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Jaime. It's my gift to you.
All right, Taylor. Goodbye for now. We'll see you maybe next week.
Okay. All right. See you guys.
Buddy. Peace out.
Arjun PC very helpfully in the chat tried to resolve our argument with the phrase "it's GIF." Yeah, but the thing is, we're trying to pronounce it. We need pronunciation.
GIF is not
accents.
fun.
It's like giraffe, right?
GIF is not fun. It
was a joke that didn't translate. Let's move on.
Okay.
Nexus 6. When Cortana wakes up, by the way, my Lumia 1020 says we're getting there, and it will be worth the wait. Migrating your data, step 15 of 21. So when Cortana wakes back up, we'll see if she'll speak Klingon. I doubt she will. They haven't.
I'm worried this is really UK only.
No, that makes no sense. Star Trek was invented here.
I know, but there's this convention going on right now in London, and the Microsoft guy they were talking to said they did this just for. This was the opportunity to implement this. It would be lovely to share it with everyone.
It better come out everywhere. Now, Microsoft people, please, if you're listening to this show, and we know BlackBerry people listen to this show, so Microsoft people, if you listen to the show, please
have
implement Cortana on a global sense. Gene Roddenberry would prefer it to be brought over here as well. Let's talk about the Nexus 6. It is this last week has been absolutely loaded with rumor and speculation regarding this device, and according to Stephen Schenck, we have a lot of details that are sort of semi-confirmed here, right?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this guy from many different angles, and the story's starting to come together. Let's see, among what details are we talking about?
The phablet size is once again confirmed. It looks like it's 5.9-inch quad.
Folks who wanted a more compact, kind of another Nexus 5, it looks like we're very much going in the phablet direction here. 5.9 inches, not even like it's like compact phablet. I still call the LG G3 a phablet, even though I'm sure many people think of it as a normal phone, but you got to draw that cutoff line somewhere. But I think 5.9 inches is soundly in phablet territory. We have seen
5.9 inches is huge.
Yeah,
huge.
But we've seen pictures of this phone, and it doesn't seem that crazy big in someone's hand. And granted, it's even in a case then, so it's larger, slightly larger than it would be on its own, but not looking unusable. So I'm not gonna buy it. It's still too big for me, but I'm kind of softening to the idea that this could be an appealing handset for a lot of people out there, especially with the number of iPhone 6 Pluses that Apple's been selling. Clearly, people want these big phones, even if we're occasionally the voice of, please make a small, powerful phone for us. We'll love you ever so much, OEMs.
Yeah, 5.9 inches really seems to me to be just a crazy place to go. Jaime, go ahead.
Now, one question, Stephen, because I've been debating this every time I build a script for the Daily. I'm like, my God, okay, so is this Shamu really going to be a Nexus 6? Because we've never seen a Nexus smartphone sport a branding logo at the faceplate, and all the leaks show a Motorola logo.
No, that's a prototype stamp, Jaime. That's only on the pre-release devices. They take it off. We've seen that on the initial Moto X, the Moto G, the new Moto X, and the new Moto.
There has been some rumors this week. We didn't have a chance to report on them, but our friend TK Tech News was talking about this idea that this conflicts a little bit with what we heard from of our sources. So I'm not sure who's right here, but especially for Verizon, he was talking about maybe them not getting the Nexus 6. To be fair, we've heard they would. But they might get a Moto S instead, which would be very much like the Moto or the Nexus 6, but it would have that logo on the back.
Right, and we
differentiator between the two.
Right, and we even heard the rumors of a fingerprint scanner being on the dimple at the back, and then we saw other renders that show the Motorola logo. So it's kind of confusing.
And we've seen, the initial Moto X was rumored to have a button back there. People were speculating it would be a fingerprint scanner too. And
I'm still waiting for, I don't think I've seen a teardown yet. I'm 90% convinced there's going to be circuitry under there for a physical switch that just is like missing but I think the traces are going to be there.
I hope mine shows up, because part of the reason we have to listen to construction noise on my channel right now is because I have the door open in my office, because I have to listen for the door buzzer, because today is the day my Moto X comes, my personal one, comes in the mail, and I'm looking forward to it with its navy leather backplate and metallic blue.
What you need is like a 75-yard piece of string going down to the door with like a little note on it tied to your finger, so we're going to see like.
so the aggressive UPS guy can really give it a good yank.
Tug.
Rip my hand right off the arm. Actually, I was recording a show. I was recording some outdoor footage outside the office the other day, and I watched as the UPS guy drove up, and he didn't think anyone was looking, and he had 3 packages to deposit on the in the lobby. and he slammed those things like they were WWF body slam targets from like the early 90s. I thought he was going to hit those packages with a folding chair.
Give me a name. Give me a name. I'll make a couple of phone calls.
Oh yeah.
I forgot. I've got sweet connections there.
Sick your boys on
I still have some friends there at UPS. Let me make a couple of calls.
Well, actually, it's okay because my spirits were like brought down by that a little bit. I'm like, why are you beating up our packages? But then about 5 minutes thereafter, I was taking another shot, an over-the-shoulder shot of the Galaxy Alpha, and this guy is like eyeballing me from the street. And then I'm like, what? And he rolls down his window and he kind of leans out, and I'm like, oh God, is he going to complain about me filming in public? What's going on? And he goes, from like 40 feet away, he yells out his window, Pocketnow.com? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, you're awesome. And then he drives away.
Man.
Oh, it was the coolest.
Why does this
thing
never
ever.
happen to me?
Yeah, that happened to me at a Best Buy last week. That happened to me at a Best Buy last week.
At a Best Buy last week? You got it? Yeah?
Yeah, it was so cool. No, the guy just I wanted to buy the Moto 360, and so I walk up to the sales representative, and I'm like, hey, dude, you have some in stock? Because I see everything empty. And the guy looks at me, and he's like, yeah, we ran. And he's like, oh my god, it's you.
God.
And this didn't trigger like, oh, well, we have the special VIP stock that we bring out.
I was like, okay, is that gonna help me get a watch or what? Sadly, no.
Take the one off my wrist. You can have it.
I'm like, come on, man. I could use any of the samples that's there right there on the counter. I don't mind. Then nope, sadly, no.
That's crazy. Hilariously enough, I got my personal Moto 360 because a listener recognized me on the street, and he and I got to talking on the sidewalk randomly here in Boston, and then he emailed me a couple of weeks thereafter and said, hey, I've got a spare Moto 360 if you want to buy it off me. I know you can't find them anywhere else. I'm like, yeah. And we went out and got a drink, and it was great. It was just the most random thing. So
damn, doesn't he have another spare one?
No, I'm sorry, Jaime. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, Jaime is so desperate for the 360. I should send him mine. But I really like mine a lot, and B, I would not want to anger my friend Eric. So
I think Motorola got more in stock. I saw something about their online orders are now.
They did, but apparently they already ran out.
Somebody
it's like me trying to buy Surge on Amazon and I just keep running out each time. So
somebody posted a Klingon post on Pocketnow's page, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that because you guys will both leave on me, and I'll have a one-man podcast. I'll have to go back to Trek FM if I want to do any podcasting whatsoever.
Yeah.
Is it just me? Let's get us back on track. Audi R414 asks, is it just me, or am I the only one who doesn't want the Nexus 6 to have that big of a screen? I just want a 5 to 5.5 inch screen, no more.
The one reason I can see that it makes sense is it's going to be fully quad HD, and I guess you want a big enough screen to appreciate all them pixels.
Sure, of course.
But that's the only reason I can see to justify it.
And even that, though, it's not enough because, as we've said before, and I'm not the only one who's allowed to have an opinion on this. If you guys want to disagree with me, you feel free. But I don't think Quad HD is worth it on anything smaller than, well, let's make an arbitrary some bullshit up, 7 inches. Okay, I think that's going to be the cutoff for me. You have to go to 7 inches if Quad HD is going to make sense for the penalty that you take in battery life and so on.
Dude, I have no penalties on the G3. Thank you for sending it to me. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But
for your comparison.
Dude, I really can't find any difference. Like I go from the 1M8 on 1080p to 2K. I don't see a difference at all. Like at all. No difference whatsoever.
What are you looking at? Text? Do you have like media content? Because it's so hard to find.
No, it's funny. It's funny. There are even third-party applications. So if you use anything from LG, everything will look good. But then if you go through third-party applications, you'll even notice this odd hue around the text. Like if things aren't, prepared for that screen resolution, which is sort of what you get with the iPhone 6 on certain apps that aren't optimized.
And by the way, the iPhone 6 Plus is like the big villain in this thing, right? I'm using the 6 Plus as a podcast companion today, and it's like the one that you refer to if you're like, see, this is where they did it wrong. It's only 1080p, it's at 5.5 inches, and it's also got scaling problems with the apps. And yeah, all that, okay, legit. But I'm using it to like keep track of the podcast notes right now. And I tell you, I'm not, having trouble. I'm not having difficulty with this text. That's as smooth.
Well,
I was hanging out with Evan from Pocketnow and Evleaks fame the other week, and he was showing me his G3. And I played with the phone before, and I was relatively happy with it. But he was pointing out on, I think it was Skype on there, next to someone's name, it has a little icon for something other, like a star if they're, can you favorite people on Skype? But whatever it was, everything else in the app was scaled properly to the screen size, except this little icon was like a 64 by 64 icon. That was not scaled at all. It was like 2 millimeters wide on there.
It's why whenever we still go on Skype, I've got this really old avatar that's like, it just scales itself up. That happens even on the PC, too. And they always make fun of me on Untethered because I look like a sort of a mentally deranged person, even though it's a very cool photograph of me holding a drink on a patio. Anyway, I forgot that we are trying to keep our news section flowing here. So other stuff we know about this. The Nexus 6 big battery, 3,200 milliamp hours is how it's described.
That's a nice size.
Very nice.
I guess the other benefit then of having a larger screen is you have more room for a battery because you have a physically larger phone. So that could be fun.
But if you also have a quad HD display, then well, that sucks because that's going to rip all that power out of there.
But with support for Motorola's new turbocharger accessory, being able to fill it back up really quick might be help cancel it out a little.
Indeed,
if you don't mind lugging the charger around.
But don't get too positive now, Stephen. We have more negatives to talk about, and that includes the report that this thing is going to borrow the new Moto X's camera, complete with the 13-megapixel sensor, the dual LED flash ring, both cool things in and of themselves, but man, I hope they improve the software before they launch this thing, because what a crappy camera that is.
I'm not too worried about it. How good was the Nexus 5's camera?
Not
Nexus
very
phones
good.
Never really
totally
had
mediocre.
Right, so I feel like we have low expectations going in. At least it's higher resolution, if not necessarily better quality pictures. It's something.
That was one of my big beefs with the testing the iPhone 6 Plus versus the 6. I expected a big jump in quality thanks to the optical image stabilization. Did not really see that. So,
and if you ask me, I feel that the G2 had better camera than the G3, man. A lot of changes this year that haven't really been positive when it comes to imagery.
Yeah. We were talking about this the other day. I went out to lunch with some friends from Trusted Reviews, and we were sort of talking about the Android imaging stack and how difficult it is to make a consistent camera experience on Android, and also a rich camera experience on Android. And this is why, once again, we're not talking about it this week, but we talked about it last week. This is why it's such a damn shame that Sony doesn't have such a big presence in the U.S. market. But there's an event next week, isn't there?
Yeah.
There's a Sony event on Thursday.
Oh, nice vocal fry there.
Thanks. That was the vocal fry that results from right in the middle of my sentence not being sure if I'm supposed to say that. But that was public, right?
No, they've given the date. I don't recall when it is. But was it 9th or 10th? Something like that?
Something like that. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about it because I don't know if I'm... Anyway, we're going.
But for someone who hasn't heard any embargoed information about this, it's probably going to be U.S. release news for the Z3. Maybe the Z3 Compact too. I don't know about that tablet as well, but we knew that T-Mobile was interested in the Z3, so the big question is if it's going to be more than just T-Mobile. This is going to be like a multi-carrier. It's big news regardless, after the Z2 kind of said, screw you, America, but Z3 going to be here. So excited. Z3 Compact.
And let's just hope they don't make it a plastic phone again. You remember how they did that with the Z1S, right?
I don't. No. Remember, it wasn't plastic. Like, that was the misperception. It was a plastic. It was a polycarbonate frame within, but it was still glass on the front and back.
It was still glass on the front and back, but it was metal if you got it for international.
Oh, yeah, but I actually didn't mind. The problem with the Z1S is that the damn doors didn't stay shut when you dropped it in the water. big sad. Hey, let's talk about Android L on the Galaxy S5. I just did the Galaxy S5 review, Galaxy Alpha review video, and I found that, oh, hey, what do you know? TouchWiz is exactly the same on a 4.7-inch screen as it is on a 5-inch screen, except it's a little easier to navigate, and it still slows down at Exynos or whatever, but it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
With Android L previewed by the folks at Sam Mobile on the Galaxy S5 with the TouchWiz layer on top of it, I went into this lengthy video expecting greatness. Unsurprisingly, I came away disappointed.
Yeah, this is very much a work in progress. They got their hands on this, supposedly an alpha build of Android L with the new TouchWiz, and it feels a lot like an alpha. It is slow, it is buggy. They decided they were going to be very generous and make this release public so that everyone with a GS5 could flash this and experience it for themselves, decided no, this is just going to result in a lot of complaints and poor expectations. So just the video, and it's fine. We got to see some of the changes, and it's not a lot that seems to be shifting, with at least with the TouchWiz, Android L notwithstanding. There's some color changes and just material design refreshes to some of the apps, but it's not going to be any sort of night and day thing. Then again, this is still an alpha. A lot can change between now and whenever it is this finally comes out. I mean, we haven't even seen the Nexus phones get. We don't even know what Android L is going to be. I think this video called it Lollipop.
Seriously.
No, I know, and you know, it's premature to judge it right now, and we will talk about it plenty on a release device. I just remember seeing the early builds of the new TouchWiz back when it was the new TouchWiz at last year's CES, and being like, oh wow, when they finish this might be really cool. And at the moment, it's not very cool. And then when they released it, it was basically exactly what we'd seen, and I was like, oh, well, this feels half.
You know, it could be that Android L is not designed for so much bloat, and that's the reason why it's so sluggish and buggy.
It could be. I had to edit out a rather harsh observation about TouchWiz on the narration because it was just too harsh. It didn't work with the phone I was using for the rest of it. But it was just
TouchWiz is
like
a jerky UI for jerks.
Exactly. Samsung. Speaking of Samsung, the company has responded to this Note 4 Gap issue called which. God, who came up with the new stop with the gate nonsense? Yeah. For real, man. I just like
it's kind of played out after 40 years or however long it's been.
Completely. Like we need a new. Well, we had a new scandal. Actually, I thought the Benghazi thing was actually rather clever. That somebody
the Samsung ads for all the Bend things, for all the Bend issues of the iPhone 6 were just hilarious, man. Hilarious.
Yeah, but you know, whatever. We're past that. I didn't even want to talk about that at all. And then we have this thing. So we have people getting Galaxy Note 4 retail units. So it was released early in South Korea. I think the speculation there is that Samsung was trying to compensate or compete early or on time with the iPhone 6 Plus, right, Steven?
Right, because it didn't come out there nearly as soon as it did here and in several other launch countries. So the iPhone 6 was out for sale here. South Korea was still waiting, and they're like, well, we're not going to wait for everyone to just go ahead and buy this American phone. We want to have this Korean phone come out now. We can buy this, spend our money on some nice home cooking, and that's what they did.
Right. So people buy these things, they bring them home, and someone, I don't know who was the first one who did this, but someone found out that you could put a piece of paper and get it to stick between the
credit card.
No, it was not a credit card.
Like a business card, maybe.
It was a card. Hey,
it was a business card. It wasn't a credit card.
Oh, no.
So yeah.
But there's this little edge around the screen, a tiny little gap there, deep enough that you can get a paper in there, and it's not just like a very shallow
I'm trying to remember what other phone you could do that with in the past. You would actually have to clean it around with a piece of paper.
Yeah, see, this was my concern.
Out of there.
I have one. So is this doing this?
Yeah, there's a couple. What? Either one of those sunken screen old school phones or what?
I'm trying to remember which phone. There were a couple of phones that I've had where you had to clean out the edge between the glass and the chassis with a piece of paper because it would get lent.
Yeah, like a needle or something, and you try really hard not to scratch the glass as you're forcing it out.
I used to use Post-its for that. So I'm trying to remember which.
Yeah, so people, fearing this are understandably getting concerned. Why is my Note 4 looking like this?
The Palm Trio Pro.
The Trio Pro had a little gap there?
Yeah, the Trio Pro had this gap that you had to clean up all the time.
So I was worried about this. I was like, man, I don't remember seeing this in the Note 4 that we played with at IFA.
Because you wouldn't see it. It's just like a tiny little.
And that's the thing. And I didn't realize this until our Note 4 coverage is we're on a different schedule, everybody. So we will have Note 4 coverage, obviously, but we're not flying to Hong Kong like Josh Vergara did. And but somebody posted his hands-on in our comments, and it's a great hands-on. Josh is a great guy. And he demoed this. He stuck a Post-it note in there, and it's stuck into the gap. But the thing is, the gap is like invisible.
Yeah.
Even in a macro shot, the gap, you can't see it unless you're actively trying to put something in there. And Samsung explained this as a feature, not a bug, right, Stephen?
Yeah. They came back responding about this, and it's not something that they did not anticipate. If someone got their hands on the European manual for the Note 4, and it says in the back there's like a troubleshooting FAQ, and it's someone has a question, why does my phone have this gap around the screen? That don't seem right. And Samsung says, no, it's supposed to be like that. This is for manufacturing tolerances, and over time the phone may bend around a little, because normal smartphones do get bent a little and don't change shape, and I guess it's the wear and tear of life, and it's essentially a little wiggle room.
It's essentially an expansion joint, like you would find in a bridge or on a ship.
Exactly.
Yes. You know with which other phone that issue happened? With the white iPhone, the 4 and the 4S.
Really?
Yes, you would I would constantly have to clean that area, by the way, with a Post-it as well. So it's not new. It's not new. It's something that's happened, and it makes sense in the case of tolerances. I find it funny, Samsung's response was, hey, I mean, this does not impair the phone's functionality in any way. You can continue using it, and there are no issues.
No one was claiming that this was breaking their phone. It's just, this looks a little shitty. We didn't have this, dust magnet around our phone here, and it was
right.
Which is funny, and I really do hope that the dust issue is not extreme, because it is so freaking frustrating.
It will be.
And the gap will be closed.
It may, but this has been an issue for more than 10 years. I remember old clamshell phones that I would give my dad when I worked at Nextel. I would buy him a discounted phone, like, here you go. And Dad worked around a lot of carpentry stuff, and he'd show me the phone 6 months later. The whole screen would be covered in dust on the inside. You'd have to take a heat gun to the phone, delaminate it, and then pull the display off, and then blow it out with compressed air, put it back together, and it never worked the same. It sucked. Dust on the inside of phones is whack nonsense, and I do hope that doesn't end up being the case here. But if I were Samsung, I would have just addressed this by releasing a bunch of macro shots of the Note 4, because you can't tell it's there unless you're sticking paper in there.
Michael, I'm not sure. The Note 4 isn't waterproof, is it?
No, it's not.
No.
Okay, so that's a relief, because imagine a waterproof phone with one of those gaps. That'll get dirtier even quicker.
Oh yeah, the gap would ruin its waterproof rating. Yeah. So anyway, that's Gapgate. We're not going to talk about it again until we actually have one in our hands, unless something major happens that makes the entire media machine go crazy again, which is very easy to do. We have a crap ton of news to get through in 5 minutes. Steve, why don't you blast us through this HTC stuff real quick?
Okay, pulling up now. Oh yeah, HTC Eye. HTC's got its double exposure event coming up. When is that? Next week? Do you know, Michael? It's soon.
Yeah, it is in fact next week. I believe it's next Thursday or Wednesday or something.
And among the things we've been looking forward to from this event would be this super selfie phone. And the latest news to come in suggests a not just really nice, front-facing lens, so a wide-angle thing to get people in the shot, but a ridiculously high-resolution camera, 13 megapixels up front, and a flash. I mean, not a xenon flash or anything so elaborate, but dual LED, which is still pretty nice. I mean, I can count on one hand the number of phones that have front-facing flashes. There aren't Sony that does it. Yeah, there is.
Is it that Sony C9 or whatever?
There's a C something from Sony that does it.
Yeah.
That's I think the only one that.
And then that Oppo
phone because it spins around. Yeah.
Right, but the Oppo one makes sense. You spin around the primary camera. That's a class by itself, because that makes more sense than anything that has happened in cell phones ever.
Seriously. Though that Sanyo had a phone like that like a million years ago.
Samsung had a phone. Samsung was the leader in that. They had these rotating barrel cams all the time, and it was awesome. It was great. It should never have stopped. But I want to make the point that this phone, if it launches with a 13 megapixel front-facing camera, it is going to be hilarious to hear HTC try to justify that super high resolution on a selfie cam, and then probably about 4 minutes later say, and check it out, you can use these sweet beauty modes to cover up all the blemishes that you're now going to be able to detect on your face.
No, you know what's going to be even sweeter? For them to announce the 13 megapixel shooter and then say, and we go back to the 4 ultra pixel camera
but
at
they're
the
ultra.
back.
You don't understand.
Now,
that is going.
I believe that, Jaime, you and I were on the same page with that, but I believe that we are going to avoid that this time around if the rumors are correct with this One Max, this new One Max, right? It's rumored to use a 13 megapixel duo camera around back.
Yeah, I don't know about this guy. So, yeah, another rumor about an upcoming HTC phone is that we could get what might be a new One Max, M8 Max. It's sort of... I feel like we're getting a combination of new and old rumors here, because remember back to spring we were talking about getting some additional phones in the M8 series, like an M8 Prime, maybe doing a Quad HD display. Some of those were canceled, and a lot of the details about that are coming back up with this new M8 Max stuff, talking about a 2K resolution again. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like it's going. And silicon carbide. This was a special material. It's a ceramic that got mentioned back when we were talking about the M8 Prime, and it returns with these M8 Max rumors. But it wouldn't be exactly like last year's Max because we hear it might be a little bit smaller.
Yeah, apparently at 5.5 inches.
Right. Everything moving to larger and larger phones, HTC might dial things back, and a quote-unquote phablet that's no bigger than the flagship phones from LG.
Sorry, Stephen, I had to run out for a second. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I remembered that I had found our HTC One Max review unit from last year. Anyone
how could you misplace such a big phone?
Yeah, I was going to say, I realized I was using it as a doormat, and I just had to pull it up off the floor. No, I found it in a box, and I was like, oh, wow, great. I have this for comparison if indeed this device that's going to replace it is accurate. But if you think the iPhone 6 Plus is too big, the HTC One Max was being too big before Apple knew what too big even was. Oh, what a monster this thing is.
Now, have you played with that guy at all in the months since your review, Michael? Because I pulled that up. I had in my mind that we were very negative towards that, and you didn't seem quite so bad about it. You seem to have a soft spot for it.
The thing is, I wrote that review. I haven't reviewed it since, but as I recall, I wrote that review. Am I? Are you, Jaime? I mean, Stephen, can you still?
We were frozen. We were frozen there for a second. We were there frozen for a second. We're back.
Oh, okay. So as I recall, I was writing the review, and I don't like this phone. This phone does pretty much everything wrong for me personally. But as I evaluated it, I was like, that may be so, but it does what it sets out to do, and it does it fairly well. So I sort of had to score it higher than I would have wanted.
I loved your leader image for the. I loved your leader image for the review. The phone, you trying to get it into your jacket pocket and couldn't get it in there. I just love that.
Oh yeah, that
image was hilarious.
Yeah, it just didn't work. Yeah. So anyway, I hope that they go lower in size with the new One Max, if there is indeed a new One Max, and it seems rather likely to me that they'll do a new One Max because they like to have that constant refresh of the offering of the product pipeline.
But I don't think we're going to see it at this event coming up next week. This I feel like is going to be further out, if at all.
But do you think so, Stephen? I mean, we're pretty much already in the fall. They need to announce whatever they're going to. What other event could they have?
Right, that's the thing. Timing-wise, it would make sense because this came out of nowhere and it doesn't seem to fit with the double exposure theme that they're going for here. I could very well be surprised, but I get the feeling that this guy is not ready quite yet, and so maybe there'll be an event that we haven't, in November or something.
I have two different thoughts on this. I want it to be true that this thing will come out next week because frankly, I don't want it to be just an event for this kind of weird-looking camera that like.
I am excited about that guy.
Anyway, we'll talk about that.
Stephen, I would never imagine you as a selfie guy.
Hold on, wait.
No.
No, it's not a selfie thing. Their sport camera,
the GoPro
competitor.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that this One Max 2 will be coming out next week because at this point in the development cycle of the One M8, we saw that thing leaked like crazy at this point, right?
There just isn't the mountain of evidence to make me feel that this is anywhere near ready for release.
And to be fair, we don't have Evleaks with his affinity for HTC, getting out there.
Upleaks bringing us the eye desire thing, so
that's true.
Keep an eye on that, maybe.
Now, one question: wouldn't you guys love a phablet made by Sharp after that device that you got, Michael?
The Aquos Crystal.
Yeah.
I'd love any smartphone made by Sharp if they did that bezel-free screen.
I don't know. A tablet, I kind of want a bezel on, unlike a phone.
I mean, seriously, like for me to hold the G3, which is sadly charging, but to hold the G3 beside the iPhone 6, the 4.7-inch iPhone 6, and to notice that they're almost the same height. I mean, just think about it. If we had a phablet, a 5.9-inch phablet made by Sharp with no bezels at the top and only a bezel at the bottom, that would be amazing.
Yeah, but until you rotated it to landscape while you're watching a movie and like accidentally pressed the screen every 2 seconds with your thumb, right?
Yeah. It would have to be, yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's HTC
Also in
earnings.
HTC, yeah. HTC's got its new quarterly numbers out this month, and it's looking kind of good. So if you've been following HTC's financials like we have, you've known that last year they were in dire straits, showing quarterly losses, not just poor profits, but bleeding money. And
They
that
were
kind
the
of
sultans
continued
of swing, yes indeed.
into earlier this year, and they only recently really turned themselves around. And last quarter, we saw a decent profit, probably helped a lot by 1M8 sales. But at the same time, we were kind of worried what would be next, because this time of year has traditionally not been a strong one for HTC, even though we did see that the 1M8 for Windows come out. But no really big Android product launches, and we saw some Desires as well. But so we had low expectations, and so did HTC, and analysts were suggesting they were hopeful that we would see some profits, but relatively low, I think to the tune of like $7 million. So HTC comes through with its numbers, and they're quite good. It made $20 million this past quarter. Compared to the likes of Samsung and whatnot, that's not even walking around money. But it's not a loss, and the only real cloud in this bright sky is that HTC didn't sell a ton of phones to make this money. This money is more coming in due to the company lowering its expenses, being able to run a little leaner. So it's not selling a ton of phones, but it's also not going to go out of business because it's wasting money. So it's still in the running, and it's doing better than people thought it would. So good news, positive news.
Good news. And I have one other piece of news in the rundown. I shouldn't have put it so low because I sort of wanted to talk about it some more, but heaven willing, we will be able to.
Listener mail.
Shut up, Hyman. Listen, I'll take this one, Stephen. There was a rumor that came out, and you go ahead and back me up, because this story was written by Anton, because I think it was the middle of the night or early morning or something.
No.
Tony very helpfully points out in his opening line that some of us at Pocketnow are diehard Palm/HP/webOS fans. We won't give names, Mike Fisher and Adam Dowd, anyways. And fueled by that passion, our own Adam Dowd has written a little post imagining the webOS-powered smartwatch in a striking display of prescience, I must say. As it turns out, a special website hosted by LG has popped up and then was hastily taken down for a SDK, or software development kit, for an LG webOS smartwatch. So we know LG already has smartwatch offerings like the G Watch R, and LG sort of, when asked for a comment, told The Verge that there are many initiatives going on at any given moment. This may not see the light of day. Most of them don't. But that feels a little to me like they were sort of covering their ass.
Am I wrong in thinking this is a horribly wrong-minded idea?
I don't know. Is it any more wrong-minded than putting webOS on TVs?
I think that's a dumb idea as well. But people are always going to buy TVs because you get, the same content from your cable provider, whomever. You make your own smartwatch that goes out on its own here. You don't have any apps for it.
Well, yeah, but webOS apps are not difficult to make. If webOS.
Okay, think about it. How important is it for us to really have applications for a smartwatch? Look at Pebble. There were no applications for Pebble initially, and then they launched the App Store until later.
Well, right, but now it is absolutely required to have apps. It is just like the smartphone space.
Okay, think about Android Wear. How many applications do you have for Android Wear?
Quite a few. It's not. I can't.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, if LG plans to launch the platform, it is now. It should happen like ASAP, while these other competitors are gaining traction. It shouldn't happen later.
Samsung, I can understand why it's still pushing Tizen for its smartwatches. It really wants Tizen to work as a viable mobile platform. We're still waiting for the Samsung Z to, I don't think it's ever going to be released, but
It's not going to happen.
Would very much like to sell Tizen phones. LG is not going to move to webOS phones, so there's even less reason for it to be pushing this as a platform for mobile devices.
Well, but I mean, is there though? I mean, like, what if, maybe that's more reason to push it on the wearable side. It's like, okay, we can't have our own platform on the smartphone side, so let's give up on that idea, like, right out the gate. Let's just stop thinking about it. But on the smartwatch space, if this space takes off, maybe we could do our own thing. And we know that webOS already has this massive amount of goodwill from the media, at least, who, most of us are sitting here being like, man, webOS got a really crap deal.
You and like 4 other diehards.
No, like, you don't hang out on Twitter.com, so you don't know, Steven, but there are a lot of us hashtagging webOS all over the webosphere.
There are so many you can actually count them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of OS2 diehards as well, but that's not coming back.
Both hands, okay? This is a big deal. And by the way, while we're talking about webOS, which is very rare on this show, as everybody knows, it's not a freaking capital W. Can everyone get that through their heads, please?
Okay, please contact Wikipedia, because at least the Spanish article has the capital W.
The W has to go away. It is like, look at the branding. It's right there. There's no capital W. There's never been a capital W in webOS.
The most objectionable part about this LG webOS site that was up and taken down, in the imagery on the site, in the URL, they are camel casing smartwatch. No. Smartwatch does not have a capital W in the middle.
Oh, dear God. No,
okay,
no.
Is smartwatch still already a name? I mean,
smartwatch has to be one word.
Spelled like smartphone.
But exactly right.
Smartphone took like 2 years to reach the dictionary.
And now you know how it's spelled. There should not be any controversy over smartwatch.
You know what? If we have a webOS smartwatch, then it'll be we're only like 7 or 8 years, guys, from webOS going to the dictionary. So that's going to be great. Let's go ahead and move on, guys. Steven's got a sweet segment. Jaime, can you stick around for Steven's segment?
I think so, yeah. I mean, my hotspot's still working.
Sweet. Excellent. All right. Well, this is great. I'm excited about this. Jules, I think, probably has a sound effect queued up. He might not. I'm not sure. But in any case, this is a special request. As anyone who listened last week knows, Steven asked for a little time on the podcast. I was like, absolutely. Anything to stop me from talking so frickin' much. Please. And then I gave him sort of the Pocketnow roundup, which was fun. And then Steven was sort of like,
I could hear my own voice for a while, but
yeah, but it was like not. Steven's like, this isn't exactly what I had in mind. I'm like, okay, sweet. Well, what the hell do you want to do? And Steven was basically like,
about things.
Yeah, I want to be the Andy Rooney of the Pocketnow Weekly.
Oh no.
What about snot? And why is there so much of it? But this is a segment called Dial F for Fail. A name that I just freaking adore. A segment from our top news wrangler about injustice, misdeeds, and general stupidity within the mobile industry.
And Lord knows there's enough to go around.
There is. And today's topic is the tale of the double data deception. Steven, what do you got for us, man?
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. I have never been a fan of data pricing for phones. It has always been preposterously overcharged. It's too expensive for what you get, and one of the reasons I think I held off on getting a smartphone for as long as I did was finding so untenable the idea of paying these $20, $30 a month for this tiny amount of data. At home, I burn through a gigabyte in 3.5 minutes. The idea of having this just for a month and paying so much more for it was awful. I finally found a plan I can live with, but a lot of the rest of you are paying a lot more for, granted, a lot more data. And then this change started happening this past weekend here. So AT&T got the ball rolling here. The company decided to start doubling the data allowances for some of its mobile offerings. Not everyone's getting double data, specifically users on these shared plans and the ones who already have pretty giant buckets of data to begin with. AT&T started it's a 15 gigabyte and higher plan. So already, this is if you're a family who is streaming Netflix without Wi-Fi like crazy, you're eating a lot of data. AT&T decided, okay, we are going to, instead of giving you 15, we'll give you 30 gigabytes. And there's some rules here where it's only available for a certain amount of time, but if you were to sign up for this or just call up the company and ask them to move you to this plan between, I think AT&T started September 28th, running through the end of October, you get on one of these 15 gigabyte or higher shared plans, you're going to get double data for life. So AT&T did this, and then the other U.S. carriers start thinking, that's a pretty attractive deal here. How are we going to compete with this? So they decided we're going to compete by matching it. Sprint came through with a deal of its own, and Verizon did as well. Now, they're not all exactly the same. They start on different tiers, different levels of data buckets to begin with. So, and again, you're only really getting the big deals if you have a lot of data. With Verizon, if you have its 20 gigabyte or up plans, they're going to straight up double it. If you have less than that, this is the awful thing Verizon wanting to make you feel included while giving you practically nothing. If you're on a 12 gigabyte plan, it goes up to 15 gigabytes. They increased it by a measly 3. And they couldn't even double their 16 gigabyte plan to 32. It's just going to be 30. But they're doubling these plans. Now that's very nice. I can get behind that. The problem is that these deals last forever. So as AT&T said as much, I think Sprint did as well. Verizon is being a little more coy and not directly saying this is going to last in perpetuity, but that's the presumption if they're all trying to copy each other. So you sign up for this 20 gigabyte Verizon plan now, you're going to get 40 gigabytes for the length of your contract. If you signed up last month, you're stuck on 20. If you sign up a month from now, you're stuck on 20. And you're all paying the same. And I'm thinking about this, and this seems like a grave injustice, because clearly it's costing Verizon twice as much to give you 40 gigabytes of data as 20 gigabytes if we're believing everything they say about their bandwidth and network utilization. So how fair is it that just by signing up in this short window of time, you're getting all this more data? I'm thinking more about this like in comparison to cable plans, because cable companies are always known for their really aggressive promotional pricing. You sign up for Comcast, yeah, you're going to get that triple play at a great rate for a year, but then it starts getting really expensive a year later on for now. They jump up the prices. Those rates never hold. So as a promotional offer, this idea of double data buckets that never expire does not really make a lot of sense. It's not like AT&T is going to bring new users on now, and then, but a couple months from now, they'll get used to having all this data, and the prices, or the amount of data goes back down. They'll want to pay more to keep all this bandwidth coming. That's not happening. They're just trying to get more users. So
right.
I'm very frustrated about the motivations behind this. Either they just want to build up their user bases, and I don't think that's true, because they have untold tens of millions of users, and not a lot of people I think are going to sign up for these giant plans to begin with. I mean, if you are the Duggars and all your kids have a smartphone, yeah, you need the 50 gigabyte a month plan for $300. For everyone else, though, this seems to be this tacit admission that, yeah, we can afford to give people double the data we have been because you've been paying way too much to begin with. If there's no long-term benefit to this, to these companies, where we start paying more later, if we're just getting locked into these savings, they're not in the business of losing money. The fact that they can do this and are inviting so many people to sign up for this seems to suggest to me that they are not losing a dime on this. This is still profitable for them. So how many, even more untold tens of millions of us, have been paying presumably more than double what we should have been for our data all along? And when are we going to start complaining about this and saying $100 a month for a cellular service is crazy, ridiculous? How did we get ourselves into this mess where it seems like this is the normal and we put up with this? And I don't know how you can justify this besides saying, sorry guys, it's just we're in this for the money, you're going to pay us anyway, screw you. I don't know. Am I being too harsh about this?
You're not.
No, I don't think you are at all. And I think we got ourselves into this by because there was no outrage, there was no mass uprising of fury, as there has been rightfully for some of these privacy violations we've seen for the net neutrality debate. You have organizations and very motivated people getting up and saying, hey, this is wrong, we need to fight for it, and rallying the people around a cause. We didn't really see that when carriers started announcing a couple years ago the end of unlimited data and that they were going to start charging us per gigabyte.
Even more than that, I can I'm not a fan of the idea of tiered data, but I can understand how it makes sense for a lot of reasons. My problem, though, is that, or I think one of the reasons it got as bad as it did, they've been constantly improving their network infrastructure. LTE is a lot more bandwidth efficient than 3G services. They've been putting up new towers, so they've been constantly increasing their capacity to deliver more data to more people for less money. At the same time, though, they've been giving us, our needs for mobile data have been increasing. We stream more and more with the cloud and all. What with the cloud? No, it seems like someone doesn't know about technology. I heard the kids talking about the cloud. I'm gonna drop it that
Randy, what's all the talk about the cloud these days?
But so we've been desiring more and more data, and rather than them, taking, oh well, this is normal $40 a month plan, and it used to be a 1 gigabyte plan. Now it's a 5. Now it's a 10 gigabyte plan. They're not really doing that. They're creating these new, more expensive options that become more attractive to us, but the prices aren't coming down at the same rate that capacity is going up.
Of course not. And they're going to get away with that as long as they possibly can. And to your other point,
might be the first sign of that maybe crumbling. If this were permanent, it's not. But sorry, go on.
I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest that this is just a grab for more subscribers. I mean, who kicked this off? Was it AT&T who did it first?
AT&T, and I'm hearing this put in the context of they're looking for the iPhone customers. They're trying to get people to switch plans.
That's what I was going to say. So it's just interesting that it's happening now. For example, I'll give you an example. Probably in a couple of the businesses that I've worked for in the past, one of the ways to lock down new customers is to seek specific opportunities. Right now, it's gaining iPhone customers. This is like the boom, the specific time where people are going to renew their plans. So a lot of people are jumping out of contracts right now, or they are ending if they were using the iPhone 5, their 2-year contract is ending now, and obviously they are in the market for a purchase. And we've seen cases like, for example, I was in the West Coast right now, and it's ironic that 2 years ago, where I started going frequently over there, Verizon was like the best carrier, and now it isn't. Data speeds and everything from Verizon and the West Coast are terrible, and AT&T is incredibly good. So this is like a really good time for AT&T to promote their new infrastructure in LTE by gaining Verizon customers that are upset by the services that they are receiving. That on one scale.
Yeah, I know you've got something to say, but let me jump on that and support you on that. Yeah. It's also a good time for AT&T to do that because, yes, in many markets they are faster than Verizon, including this one until recently. But Verizon has the long-term infrastructure and the spectrum holdings to be a very, very much more compelling player in the future. So if AT&T knows that, which they most assuredly do, they want to get as many people on board now as they possibly can.
Exactly. Exactly. And then the other case is when you have so I don't know if the correct word in English is oligopoly. Is that correct, Stephen? Oligopoly?
That's a word. Yeah.
Okay, so
oligopoly. Yeah.
Oligopoly. Okay,
I'm kidding. I'm sorry.
So it's a monopoly. Oligopoly is a couple of companies doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have the impression that in the United States, this is what's happening between Verizon, AT&T, and in a way Sprint. And it seems that because T-Mobile wasn't able to be acquired, they are trying to turn into the anti-company, the whole uncarrier thing that they are promoting, up to the point where it's gotten the bigger companies to build better prepaid plans for customers. Obviously, a lot of people, and okay, so this is something that's happening in the United States, but it happened in this country 5 years ago. There are so many people with bad credit right now in my country because of the bad economy and everything. People started losing jobs and started going down on their credit, that it's really hard for these people to jump into contracts because their credits are down, their credit scores are down. And because this is happening in the United States, this was a good time for T-Mobile to jump into the prepaid bandwagon up to the point where the competitors are doing it. And obviously, that is the reason why AT&T is trying to double down on getting as many customers as they can, because obviously T-Mobile is starting to become appealing to customers. They're building a better infrastructure.
T-Mobile is also being a huge disruptor in the space right now. It is the carrier that's driving change, and it's getting a lot of attention doing it. So yeah,
exactly. And the problem with prepaid, so AT&T, Verizon, and all these companies have tried to do so through prepaid. The problem with prepaid is nobody's locked. they can move out at any point.
Right, so there's not a lot of reason for them to really sell it that hard, because you could, as soon as you work hard to get a customer, you could lose them in a heartbeat as well.
True, but that's the reason why I'm telling you that's the reason why AT&T is trying to lock everybody into these new plans with double the data, because the only way they can ensure the customer is going to stay is through a contract.
But what frustrates me about that is, yes, they're going to lock them into the contract, but then you're locking them into this, it's essentially a lower rate. You can look at it as you're getting more data or you're just paying less.
So their bottom line is going to suffer, is what you're saying, because they can't artificially.
It's going to suffer, but I think the fact that they can do this and it's a viable option for them is the most frustrating aspect of this, that they can get by just fine giving us a whole lot more for what we're paying. Or the flip side of this, they could be getting by charging us half as much and still making money hand over fist.
I really think it's just a gross acquisition grab. I think they were willing to take the money hit. If AT&T started this,
is it a hit?
I have
also, yes. It's a little disingenuous.
I want to say, yeah, maybe so. I want to say that if AT&T started this, then AT&T, and I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like AT&T felt really good about being the biggest carrier in the United States for a few years, and then Verizon came and lapped them again, or surpassed them again.
Okay,
I think they want that back. I think they want to be able to say we're the biggest carrier in the United States again.
Okay, think about this. It's theoretical. They're not really giving...
That's a Moto X at my door. You guys keep fighting.
Okay.
Okay. It's theoretical, Stephen. They're not really giving you double the data unless you consume it.
Right. This is my next point.
So the idea is this: why are they going to want to give you half the price, where what they really want is to continue perceiving the same amount of money and offer you something that's really elusive? Because even though they're giving you double the data max, you're not really going to consume it.
Absolutely. I think the fact that they're positioning this at the higher end of their data tiers, these are probably the ones where, I mean, AT&T starts at 15 gigabytes. I can't imagine mobile life that would have me using 15 gigabytes of data a month. Okay, maybe if I had a tablet and I'm watching a lot of movies on there. So, yeah, these, I think, are data buckets that people are already not consuming all of to begin with. And they can't realistically change their consumption patterns to double them on an ongoing basis. So this data is going to largely go unclaimed. And the fact that it's only on these really expensive plans to begin with, I can't imagine a lot of people are signing up for these. I mean, do you know anyone who is on a 20 gigabyte a month plan, even for their whole family?
No. I mean, I'm serious. What they're doing is just trying to capitalize. Yes, thank you, Michael. Thank you. Okay, before somebody else asks for it, can I get your black Moto X?
I'm back. I'm back, everyone. And I have a box full of Moto X. Let me pull it out of the FedEx box and discard the
all you poor audio
come on.
There's nothing like this unboxing action.
Hello, Moto.
That was a giant box that came in.
It's not giant. It's just I don't know. I'm small or something. I don't know what it is.
No. The shipping.
The FedEx.
Yeah.
It always is. It always is.
I've been waiting for this Moto. This is my custom Moto X. Audio listeners, I'm sorry. I will describe so you don't feel too left out. Guys, I know you still wanted to fight about carriers and stuff like that, but I have a new phone and I'm going to unbox it, and that's going to be so exciting for everybody, including everybody in this booth. It's going to be exciting for.
Okay.
I told you guys what color I ordered. I'm not saying that on the air. I'm pointedly avoiding saying that.
Say it on the air.
Do you know how difficult it is to do everything? When are you going to move to the United States? Would you please just come here so that we can ship you things?
We have electricity. It's lovely.
Yeah, we do. Like the power doesn't go. Come on. You can live with us, man. I got an office. Come on. All right. This is going to be fun. Here we go. I'm opening the box of this Moto X, which, by the way, we're not doing an unboxing. So check out this pattern on top.
I love that pattern.
Blue, like triangular pattern on top, similar to last year's, except it's not rainbow, it's blue. I wonder if they change that depending on what trim color you get. That would be nice, but
blue?
I doubt it. Mine is indeed blue. It is navy blue leather. Let's pop it open and see if they got the color right. It hinges open.
A nice little action there.
Yes. This is a darker blue than I anticipated, but this is the leather-backed blue Moto X with metallic blue trim and Captain Two Phones engraved in it.
How often do you see a phone where you open the box and it's face down like that? That seems very unusual to me.
Yeah, Moto's been doing that since the original Moto X because...
to show off all the lovely,
Yeah, they want you to see that custom color or the custom wood or whatever you ordered. This is significantly darker than I expected. It's almost black.
It's supposed to be blue?
It's actually navy, and if you're here in this room, you can see it. And the crappy webcam
Getting
can't
a
really
little,
capture it.
yeah.
But and then there's the front of it with the metallic blue inlays at top and bottom, with the
That's
Moto X screen
nice.
protector on there. And then we're going to be done with this unboxing as soon as I do one of these screen
up to the
peels
mic.
for my long-term fans here. Ready for this? Oh, that was kind of a silent screen protector, but it is now christened. The Captain 2 Phones Moto X is here. I can't wait to move into it. That's going to be fun. We'll do that later. Guys, what say we wrap up Steven's rant and get into listener mail, huh?
I've said my piece.
Listen, Steven, that was some deep thoughts. Are you going to do this every week?
If I can find enough to complain about.
I think you can. I have faith. You can.
I'm pretty sure I can, really.
Yeah, the next topic is going to be the webOS smartwatch. Let's do that.
Oh Christ! It's
damn right. And that better be a rave. Or you're not getting any airtime on this program. All right, listen. Jules, I think it's time to sound the listener mail bong bong, speaking of webOS. Thank you, sir. I think that the important thing to do here is to pick a sequence to read in. Jaime, Stephen, you all have the mail as well. And Jaime hasn't spoken in a couple minutes, so I will defer to him on which email he wants to read first. We don't have to do this in any specific order. We just need to do it.
Okay, you want me to do the Galaxy Alpha?
Yeah, sure, brother.
Okay, this comes from William Lee. This is, let's see. Hi, Pocketnow. Do you guys think we are being too kind to the Alpha just because Samsung added a metal band? Don't get me wrong. It's good chance and wait a second. It's a good change. Yeah, and signals good things to come. But surely there are much better build quality phones, especially when it costs as much as a flagship. The Samsung soft and hardware gimmicks are still there, and some. Damn, I'm having issues reading. Sorry about that.
Still there with some severe compromises.
I know, severe compromises. Example, battery and storage. My main gripe is this is just an alpha, which means it's a test. Something to put out there and to say we have metal now. It reminds me of Nokia smartphone beta test at Vert. Yeah, I do remind that as well. Even though it was ironic, my God, I'm having issues reading. The problem is my display is all the way at the end for the camera to be able to capture me.
That's all right. Just finish it out. Can the Alpha really hold its own?
Even though it was ironic in its own sense because the Lumia 900 was a beta test for the 920, can the Alpha really hold its own against phones like the Z3 Compact and the new Moto X? Cheers, William Lee. Thank you for your question.
Yeah, good question. William, there's a lot of questions in there, and I'll just answer them as quickly as I can here. Yeah, there are better built phones than the Alpha, but the Alpha does exactly what the Z3 Compact does, or the Z1 Compact did, relative to its counterparts. It takes the same design language and shrinks it down. That's really cool, especially considering that the processor inside is just as powerful as those higher-end ones. B, not only does it shrink it down and not make the mistake of making it an S4 Mini or S3 Mini, but it adds, yes, the metal band. And it's not just the act of adding metal that makes it better. All of the tolerances have been tightened. This back cover is still removable, but it looks like an integral component of the phone. You wouldn't know it was removable unless you were looking for the tab to pull on it. The texturing has been changed on the back cover so that it's no longer as gaudy. It actually looks really good. The aluminum isn't just metal, it's beveled, it's chamfered nicely. Is it a ripoff of a 2-year-old iPhone? Totally. All right, I'll give you that. But it looks fantastic. It feels great. Yeah. And the fact that it is smaller makes it a lot easier to use in the hand. So
I wish smaller meant it was less expensive than it is. But it makes sense. It has the hardware in there to compete with the full-on flagship models. And I think it's wrong to harp on this just alpha tag, as it doesn't necessarily mean an alpha release. Alpha has a lot of connotations. Alpha means first. It's like calling it the one or something, just in a different language. So I would not associate that with the alpha testing. This is not necessarily a predecessor to a better phone. Just appreciate this for what it is.
Completely agree, and also, yeah, the software gimmicks are still there, but they're easier to tolerate when you can sort of reach them all and dismiss them all. Are they annoying? Yes. I mean, would I rather have a Moto X? Yeah, obviously, I bought a Moto X. Would I rather have a Z3 Compact? Certainly, yeah. I would prefer the camera on the Z3 Compact, probably. We haven't reviewed it yet, but hey, probably.
I think the message with the Galaxy Alpha is clear. We saw it with the original Moto X. We've seen it with iPhones for the longest time. We've seen it with a lot of Windows phones as well. We don't need the spec race. It's not really what matters. What matters is better phones, better quality materials, better design. It's really your experience holding things. And I feel that Samsung is telling us, hey, fine, we're going to build a nice phone that's not a spec race. And I feel that it's a good move. I mean, they can do it, and they did it.
Yeah. No, it's William, you cite a lot of issues, but I think that amidst all of the challenges, this is actually it's okay to get excited about the Alpha, because once you hold it, you realize that it's the best Samsung phone the best feeling Samsung phone you've probably ever held, at least if you're me. And if you hold it alongside the S5, the Note 2, the Note 3, anything else, it's just...
I remember when I held the Note 3 the first time. I was like, my God, this phone feels so good. I just wish it had some metal to it. And that's the reason why I'm waiting for the Note 4.
You know what, though? The Note 4, though, to be quite honest, holding the Note 4, which I did at IFA, didn't feel like this. Part of the essential, positive of the Alpha is that it is so small. Is that you can use it with one hand, you can put it in a pocket. When you hold it up to your head, you don't feel like you're talking on a goddamn tablet. It's really, and the fact that they've taken that as much display area as they could and maximized it with thin bezels. It's just like the Moto X all over again, except it's a year late and it's priced a little high. So anyway,
$100 cheaper even, I'd be a lot more enthusiastic.
It probably should be $100 cheaper, but they're seeing what they can do.
They're
seeing if they can get the money for it. Anyway, one more thanks on that. The Galaxy Alpha comes to us from 28 Mobile. Visit them at 28mobile.com. What is next on the list here? I'll read one. I'll read the one from Andy Lay, and then Stephen, you can read the last one. Is that all right?
Cool.
Hi, Michael, and the rest of the Pocketnow crew. Thanks to your suggestions from Pocketnow Podcast 107. I went with the Lumia 1520, and I love it. Good for you, man. Congratulations. However, due to the lack of mobile games on Windows Phone, I want to get a budget Android phone like the Moto G. Is there anything better than the Moto G? I don't mind carrying two phones around. Are you taking any apprentices? Thanks, and have a nice day. Good question there. Good question. Andy, we have yet to review the initial Moto, or the new Moto G. Taylor has it. It's in his queue. He's compared it with a couple things, but we haven't reviewed it yet. So I don't know about that. I can't speak to that. I will say the first Moto G is a great phone for the price. There's one competitor I have to it, but I wanted to ask Stephen or Jaime if you guys remember. There are some Xiaomi competitors there, right? The Mi 4, wasn't that a mid-ranger that was priced about the same as the Moto G?
I believe so.
That Taylor reviewed?
Price
I think
me.
He said it was pretty good. I think he compared it directly with the Moto G. So yeah, what the good question is...
Well, if you're looking for a budget device just for gaming, really, you want access to these titles that you don't have on other platforms, but you're not necessarily looking for a phone to use as a daily driver, which is the good feeling you get from this, then maybe you don't necessarily need to consider a phone that has American carrier support even. You could go with one of these import options, or one that doesn't have great Google, well, I guess you would want Google Play integration to get the games, but...
that's a good point. Well, we don't know if Andy is from the States, by the way.
No, and by the way, does it really have to be a phone? I mean, if what he really wants is just a better game experience, the Nexus 7, that's probably the way to go.
And you get in at the same price point for some of these...
But hold up. The Nexus 7 has a Tegra chip in it, which means it can't run some of the games that we run all the time in our reviews. No, it doesn't. Some of them are just straight up not supported, and some of them are exclusive.
That happened with the first Nexus 7 with the Tegra 3.
Yeah. What's the chip in the Nexus 7 2013?
It's a Tegra 4, isn't it?
No.
I don't know.
Not that I remember.
Oh wait, is it a Snapdragon 800 in the new Nexus 7?
Steven, help me out here. I didn't get the new Nexus 7.
Yeah.
It's an
S4 Pro in the new.
More Michael's complaints. Buy the Nexus 7.
Sorry, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I know I've never had the new Nexus 7. I don't even know what it feels like or anything. So blah, 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 blah.
Moto G is what? Snapdragon 400. I mean,
yeah, I would rather get a Nexus 7. I mean, you would get much more functionality out of a tablet.
I feel like that better GPU.
He would have said he wanted a tablet, right? I mean, like, if you're talking about a phone, my recommendation was going to be, and you guys will probably be okay with this, my recommendation was going to be the Huawei Ascend Mate 2 4G LTE, which is being sold for not much. It's not bad unlocked. I forgot they're selling it for way cheap, and it's still got a Snapdragon 400, so it's the same processor, but you've got a big old screen on there, and so I think that would be a little bit
for enjoying your games. Yeah.
Yeah. So think about that.
Well, the Moto G has a 5-inch screen, right?
I keep forgetting the Moto G has a new screen. Yeah, but the Ascend Mate 2 has a 6-inch screen.
Is it still 720p?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
So, yeah. Well, yeah, I know. Get a G-Flex for that matter. No, so I don't know. You know, the new Moto G, once I get my hands on it, I imagine Taylor will send that to me, and then maybe I'll get to take a look at it, but we'll have to see. Anyway, in the interim, there's a reason the Moto G is such a great seller, the first Gen 1, and I'm sure the second Gen 1 follows in its footsteps. Steven, you want to close us out?
Yeah, speaking of webOS, VJV writes in saying, "Hi guys, with the newly rumored webOS smartwatch planned by LG, do you think some OEM will take it as a challenge to make a new webOS smartphone? I hope so, because I am getting bored with the current smartphone OS options." I do not think this is even entering the realm of possibility here, guys. I mean, LG, I know it's licensed. LG flat out buy webOS or just license it for phones. I think they bought it, and unless someone is throwing a ton of money at LG, they're not going to give up whatever rights they have to this. And if LG, I think the company's very happy making Android phones. If you are interested, if you are bored, there are a lot of other options out there. I don't, haven't listed what you've used here, but there's Sailfish,
BlackBerry 10,
Firefox. Oh, BlackBerry 10.
No,
yeah, I guess they still.
I wasn't being joking.
No.
Okay, Michael, he already said he was bored. You can't make him more bored. You need something.
BlackBerry 10 is anything.
Is webOS going to unbore you though? If you just want something different.
Okay, fine. Let me rephrase. And by the way, bored. He doesn't want to be confused.
Yeah, it's not that confusing. VJ, if you already like webOS, you will really like BlackBerry 10 because it's a lot like it. And also, I like BlackBerry 10, whatever. But VJ, you need to like webOS a little bit more. You need to remember not to capitalize that W. It's all right. Everybody does it. It's okay. But I don't see this as likely at all. webOS had 9 lives for a while, and then you used them all up. I mean, if there's smartphone developments, that's one thing. If there's TV developments, that's another. We're never going to see this thing on smartphones.
No, but we well could see full-on smartphone OS upstarts. Like, I mean, a couple of years back, there was this flood of new projects. None of them really have caught on in a meaningful way. That may mean that other developers are wary of going down that same road in the future, but you never know. We could get the next Sailfish OS. Mamo, Migo, whatever these things. Hey, Tizen, that's still viable. Have you played with Tizen yet?
Yeah, no.
Lord. Moving on.
Yeah, thank you, VJ, for the question. We talked a lot about it in the earlier parts of the show. We talked about the webOS smartwatch. So if you are just tuning in or you just tuned in to listener mail to hear your mail read, go back and listen to the rest of the show. We got to close up the show, but I don't want to ignore our friends in the Q&A. We answered a few of these, but some have been upvoted into Crazy Town. With Pebble's new entry level of $99, asks Kelvin Alonso, do you guys think that it is a better deal than any Android Wear device?
No.
No. If it was the Pebble Steel, yes.
Exactly.
But, yeah.
It's so not ugly, but when you see the steel and
What?
Yeah.
What
Pebble
do you mean? I love my original Pebble. What do you mean?
No, I mean the original Pebble, especially if you throw a metal band on it, it's
which
like
I did.
passable.
Yeah,
which I did.
Yeah, you look good there.
That looks nice.
But wait, that's not the steel though. That's the old. Oh yeah, that's the original. Yeah,
that's the OG.
Yeah. So but the thing is, Pebble came out with the steel, and it was so much better than the original that buying an original these days would just feel so backwards, even for $99. Well,
at this point, you have to think about what's coming next from Pebble as well. I mean, we got steel at CES last year. We're only a few months away from that winter Tech Expo season. Are we going to have the next gen Pebble?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We're just a few months away from them launching a new Pebble, taking 2 months to pull it out into the market, and then being sold out for the other 3. So you could say that we are at least half a year, more like 7 months away from the next Pebble.
Okay, but the Steel was not such a big step hardware-wise. I mean,
No.
aesthetically it was, but hardware-wise over the original. So I'm kind of worried that this next step is going to be a bigger possible compatibility breaking thing, and
Probably
you might
so.
not want to just invest in this new Pebble or an existing Pebble, assuming that the new offerings will work with it. I don't think that's a safe bet.
Now, I don't want this to be construed as saying that we think the Pebble's a bad buy. Pebble is probably the best smartwatch experience you can get in terms of consistency and just functionality right now. Android Wear is kind of a mess compared to it, but it's still not what I would buy right now. Jaime, were you going to make a point there?
No. I agree with you. I mean, there's a reason why I'm still using a Pebble, aside from the fact that I can't find the 360. Like, the 360 is really the watch that I want to buy because it looks beautiful, but not really because it'll help me much. First of all, because it doesn't work with an iPhone. So, hey, if you're using an iPhone, that's like the only way to go.
Cross-platform is a big deal.
That's like the only way to go. And probably one of the things that I love most about using a Pebble is that you can connect more than one device with it at the same time. So, you know, you can have dual phones if you're carrying 2 phones or whatever, and you'll be just fine. And there is a good ecosystem of bracelets and stuff and good applications. I mean, I would love for Pebble to build, you know, a color screen, but with the terrible battle, you know, Android Wear is having, I think it's probably ahead of its time still.
I bet you they could do it with a Mirasol display or an interferometric type of thing.
Interferometric.
I stole that. I said it just so that I could pay homage to your favorite word, Stephen.
Yeah, I had this vision pop into my head and I started Googling. I haven't found it yet, but someone needs to put the Pebble on a slap bracelet because I want to play
totally. Oh my God, I would spend $500 on such a thing. If the GPE edition phones continue to come out, asks Jeff Martinez, what phones would you like to see this time around?
Ooh.
Isn't GPE dead, or is it not?
It should be dead. I mean, if they're going to continue with the same price tags, it should be dead.
Yeah. If they continue to come out, what phones would you like to see this time around? It's a good question. I would really like to see a Google Play Edition Galaxy Alpha. I'll tell you that much.
Oh.
Or Xperia Z3 Compact. Those are my 2 picks. Xperia Z3 Compact or Galaxy Alpha.
I might actually buy a Z3 Compact with stock Android.
I would buy the Z3, the 3.
The straight up Z3. Okay.
Yeah.
Now but you know what? How would we saw this minor controversy with Sony and camera quality and the DRM keys I'm just wondering if we had a stock Android on the Z3 Compact, we'd have the same lousy camera quality you get after removing those DRM keys.
Boy, that would be frustrating. I hope not. I seem to recall, though, that when the HTC One M7 came out in its Google Play Edition flavor, the side-by-side camera shots I took were quite similar.
Well, yeah, but there's no sign that HTC's pulling this business with trying to restrict access to its image processing algorithms. Sony has, all these trademarked, what is it?
Yeah, XMOR RS stuff.
XMOR, yeah.
But all that XMOR RS stuff, like when you enable that stuff, I'm not really sure how much of the sensor is used by that because it only boosts the photos when you load them. Once you're, and you can notice the screen just going brighter, and then every time you flip photos, it just goes brighter and then comes back, goes brighter and comes back. So it seems to be a software gimmick.
Well, we'll see. I don't know.
It's software gimmicks, but
maybe I'll be able to convince my my reviewed.com friend to come on the show and talk about this a little bit when we review the Sony things, because I would love to get a real camera perspective on this kind of thing. I'd ask Adam Lane to come back on the show. I'm sure he'd be happy to come back on the weekly, but I have a feeling he'd only want to talk about Windows phones.
What are you talking about? Adam has a Galaxy Nexus. He has Android.
And finally, the third most upvoted question. Oh wait, Jaime didn't get a chance to answer. What would be your Google Play Edition thing? It would be Z3. Did you say?
I said the Z3. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you didn't.
I did too.
Okay. Tal Bamia asks, Google wouldn't release a phone with 5.9 inches unless there was a software reason. My guess is that they're going to add multi-window, or that it's just not the Nexus 6 and it's just a Motorola phablet. Hey,
I agree with you.
I agree with something. You. Why not? I mean, that's logical speculation. I dig it.
Well, I think there's not just a softer reason, there's a sales reason, and that people really want these phones despite our objections.
Yeah,
And,
people
I
in
mean,
China. People in China.
I think it's people everywhere. I think it's more people than we realize. Just I haven't figured out why there's this obsession with the larger phones, and I'm still kind of convinced people feel like you get more value for your money with a larger device, and if you're paying the same for a smaller one, it feels weird.
You know what's hilarious? It's hilarious to watch the Apple ads of Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon. There's this ad called Huge where they continue repeating how big the iPhone 6 is, and I'm like, my God. You know, in the past the ads were about one-handed usability, and now all the ads say it's huge, it's huge, it's huge.
You know what the driving force is now, and this is kind of being repeated everywhere I look and hear. I don't know where the enlightenment came from, but somebody said it, now everybody's repeating it. Some of the biggest market for these phones is in Asia, where apparently it's much more common than it is here to have your smartphone be your lone computing device. So that's why you want the biggest screen you can get, and that's why that was one of the driving factors apparently behind the original HTC One Max that we talked about earlier.
I'm curious to see.
Yeah,
but it's for a Nexus device. I wonder what the international market is for Nexuses. I feel like iPhones, this is something that gets a lot more play in the U.S. than it does abroad.
Right. Yeah, I could see this being a more likely move than from, like, say, Lenovo, who is now the parent of Motorola, so maybe there's some kind of parallel there drawn yet. Okay. But finally, this is the last one. I'm sorry. Shri, our friend, asks, you guys have multi-platform experience. What do you do to ease the pain associated with being on disparate ecosystems? I'm on Android, and it's annoying that I'm often out of the loop as I'm not on iMessage, among other annoyances. I feel you, man. The other podcast...
Text message.
Back in the day, I talked about this earlier in the show. I would frequently guest on Trek FM's Star Trek podcast, and I love doing it still as often as I can. Shut up, you jerks.
I thought you were...
And the thing is... The cat's going crazy. The thing is...
That's not your cat, man. It's my window.
Oh. No, it is the office cat. It's going nuts. The thing is that, what the hell was I saying? Oh, right. They used to organize their stuff with iMessage, and, like, I would get left out of the loop because the only iOS device I had was an iPad that stayed powered off all the time. It is infuriating. The only way I know of doing it is getting everyone to agree to at least use the platform that you all have in common. For this, it sounds like everyone should be using Hangouts because for its frustrations on iOS.
No, should be just going platform agnostic. Email, text messaging.
Okay, so
email is the wackest nonsense I have
seen. The only platform that works everywhere is WhatsApp. At the moment, Hangouts doesn't work on Windows phones.
No, it doesn't work on Windows.
Yeah,
but he's not using a Windows phone. He's using Android.
No, but I'm saying, okay, so which is the best way to go? You know, regardless of what platform you're using, is WhatsApp.
Yes, well, that's true, too. Just code everything you do.
Yeah.
Register a tap by coding it in console, says Jules.
All I speak is ADX86 assembly.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. No, you know what, but it's so tough to pitch people on the email idea, right? It's so tough to be like, guys, just use email, because email's so unsexy. It's not terrible. Instant. You don't have the delivery notification stuff. Like, hey, I mean,
terrible.
There's BBM. That's on iOS. That's on...
Oh, my God. BBM.
Let's just use IRC. That's fun.
Yeah. No, so there are a variety of options. It's just a question of, pitching it to the other people and getting them to agree, Shri, and in my experience, that's pretty tall order.
The PTT day, says Jules.
Yes!
Okay, so probably one of the reasons why I love WhatsApp the most is you can join a group and not tell everybody you muted them for a year. That is perfect.
Yeah, good call there. Yeah, everybody just, all you got to do is communicate by Snapchat. Just have like quick 10-second videos between all of you, and occasionally throw a nude in there, and you're all set. With that, I think we should probably bring the show to a close. What do you guys think about that?
Thank you.
Folks, a note on music. Our transition track is called Radiation. It is a ringtone on some older Android smartphones. We wish it was on newer Android smartphones too, but it's not yet. It's also a full-length song by Ali Spagnola, an artist who once dropped by the Pocketnow Weekly for an interview, one who has millions of fans around the world. You should be one of them. She is awesome. Visit her YouTube channel, youtube.com/AliSpags, and her website is alispagnola.com. Both of them linked in the description below. Till next time. That's going to do it for this episode of the Pocketnow Weekly, which is produced by Jules Wong, a.k.a. Greenpoint0 on Twitter, who has more talent than I could ever sum up in a quick blurb. Also, be sure to find the hosts on social media. Jaime loves bragging about how much he works out at Jaime_Rivera. Yes, you do. Stephen has a few thoughts on Android Sliver at Stephen Schenck, StephenSchencck, and I joke about things that I am actually quite sad about at Captain 2 Phones. It's Captain, the number 2, Phones. Pocketnow itself is also on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google+. And if you enjoy the podcast, please help us grow our audience by leaving a review wherever podcast reviews are left. As always, we thank you for listening. We thank our sponsor at Themer, and we'll be back with more mobile tech talk next week.